Okay, so for my project, I read the book, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and this is my project. So I started up here with explaining a little bit about the book, and I said The Perks of Being a Wallflower is a book about a boy named Charlie and his first year of high school. It goes through all the trauma that he's gone through and how he finds amazing friends and learns the true meaning of being alive. And then I had a few of the characters right here to explain a little bit more about the story. So I started with Charlie, and I added the definition for wallflower in it because it obviously brings it up a lot. So it's an introverted personality and someone who always watches without actively taking part in something. And then Charlie tells the story of his first year of high school through letters written to us as a friend. At the beginning, he's recovering from his best friend's suicide in middle school. Charlie is a very quiet kid and gets called a wallflower by Patrick. He doesn't share many things with other people. He was molested by his aunt when he was little, but feels a lot of guilt because he died in a car crash on the way to get him his birthday gift. He doesn't tell anybody he was molested until the end of the book because he really doesn't know how to get that trauma out. Charlie at the beginning feels like he's alone without anybody to talk to, and towards the end he ends up having a mental health crisis. But Charlie meets amazing friends that show him what the true meaning of being alive is. And then I just had 3 quotes for the characters. So the first one is, we can't choose where we come from, but we can choose where we go from there. And then, so this is my life, and I want you to know that I'm both happy and sad, and I'm still trying to figure out how that could be. And then the third one is, do you think that if people knew how crazy you really were, no one will talk to you? And then my second character is Sam. She's one of Charlie's friends in high school. She becomes the first girl he falls in love with. Charlie and Sam have a special bond because they were both molested in their childhood. She sets a positive example for Charlie because of the way that she deals with her trauma well. She teaches that you should not accept less than you are worth. She just looks out for Charlie and makes sure he's doing things to keep himself happy. And then the quotes I had for her is, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to be who I really am. And I'm going to figure out what that is. And then the second one I had is, you can't just sit there and put everyone else's lives ahead of yours and think that counts as love. And then for the last character, his name's Patrick. He's a senior at Charlie's high school and is Sam's stepbrother. Patrick is the first person to make Charlie feel welcome and accepts him. Patrick accepts Charlie because Patrick doesn't get enough acceptance from other people because he's gay. Patrick has to have a secret relationship with his boyfriend Brad because Brad is scared of what other people would do if they knew. Patrick was given the nickname Nobody, which shows the representation of a lot of LGBTQ community members that feel like they have to hide and aren't accepted. Patrick helps Charlie come out of his shell and feel like it's okay to be himself. And then the quotes I had for Patrick is, why can't you save anybody? And then this quote is by Charlie, but it's about Patrick, and it says, he always says he feels free and that tonight is his destiny, but after a while he runs out of things to keep himself numb. So that's a little bit about the main characters. And then I had some quotes over here. So the first quote is, I don't know if you can see. The first quote is, things change and friends leave. Life doesn't stop for anybody. The second one is, so I guess we are who we are for a lot of reasons, and maybe we'll never know most of them, but even if we don't have the power to choose where we come from, we can still choose where we go from there. We can still do things, and we can try to feel okay about them. And then there's, we accept the love we think we deserve. And then the next one is, and if somebody else had it so much worse, that doesn't really change the fact that you have what you have, good and bad. And then for the last one, it's, I can see it, this one moment when you know you're not a sad story. You are alive and you stand up and see the lights on the building and everything that makes you wonder. And you're listening to that song on that drive with the people you love the most in the world. And in that moment, I swear, we are infinite. So then for my paraphrases, I had a quote and it says, for the first one, it says, I hate you. My sister said it differently than she did to my dad. She meant it with me. She really did. I love you is all I could say in return. You're a freak, you know that. You've always been a freak. Everyone says so. They always have. I'm trying not to be. The section to me mostly means that he truly does care about what others think, and he tries his best not to be an outcast or different. And then the second one is, I'm both happy and sad at the same time, and I'm still trying to figure out how that could be. I think this shows back to the thesis because it shows like kind of a big lesson he learns, that it's okay to feel different and not only feel happy, because it's like healthy to feel other things. And then the last one is we accept the love we think we deserve. This goes back to the thesis because people may feel like they're not worth anything, or maybe they feel guilty about something like Charlie, so they don't think they deserve that love. And then I have, for my 3 summaries, they're kind of long, but the first quote is, Patrick then said something I don't think I'll ever forget. Here's a wallflower. And Bob really nodded their head, and I started to feel nervous in the Bob way. But Patrick didn't let me get too nervous. He sat down next to me. You see things, you keep quiet about them, and you understand. This quote is pretty much saying that he's someone that keeps things to himself. They're saying that he has an introverted personality, but it's the first time he gets called a wallflower, and I think that's pretty important in the book. And then the second one is Sam sat down and started laughing. Patrick started laughing, I started laughing, and in that moment I swear we were infinite. This quote is really important because it shows like a great friendship that started, and before he didn't have any friends, and like he's able to feel free and not stuck in all that past trauma. And then the last one I had is, please believe things are good with me, and even when they're not, they will be soon enough. This quote is really important because even though everyone goes through hard things and through trauma, everybody needs to know that things will get good again. It's not the end, because things will get better. So then moving on to my thesis statement, which is pretty much what I thought the book was trying to get out, and that is that one must first address their personal trauma in order to actively move towards self-love. And so first of all, I kind of had a quote that goes with my thesis, and it's, she wasn't bitter, she was sad though, but it was a hopeful kind of sad. The kind of sad that just takes time. And that kind of like, to me, means like there might be like hard times, but over time it'll get better, and you have to like remember that. So then I had 2 paragraphs that go with my thesis. So in school one day, Charlie tells Mr. Anderson about how his sister is dating Derek and how bad things Derek has done to her, and he says, we accept the love we think we deserve. When Charlie was little, his aunt Helen lived with his family. On Charlie's birthday, his aunt told him that she was going to go drive to buy him his birthday present. On that drive, she ended up getting in a crash and passing away. Since then, Charlie has felt like it's his fault that his aunt died, that he killed her. Charlie doesn't do many things for himself because he doesn't think he deserves that love. Many people have trauma that just stays there forever and ever and never gets out because they feel like there's not a way to let go of it or talk to people about it. Charlie's teacher mainly has him writing these letters because he needs someone there to listen, someone there so that Charlie can find his way to self-love. Because he cares so much about other people, but sometimes you have to do what's best for yourself. Towards the end of the book, he tells everyone about what his aunt did to him when he was younger because he couldn't hide it forever. He says, and if somebody else had it so much worse, that doesn't really change the fact that you have what you have, good and bad. The story wants to let people know that it's okay to talk to people. It's okay to not be doing good and to be sad and happy at the same time. Everybody has trauma in their own struggles, but you have to at some point work towards that self-love. Charlie needs to let go of that guilt and know that it's okay. At the end of the book, he talks about how every day might not be good, but not to worry about it because it will be good soon. I think the thesis is, again, one must first address their personal trauma in order to actively move towards self-love, because in the end, writing the letters did help Charlie. He realized that it's okay to feel something and let people know that the things have been hard on him. You always have where you came from, you always will have that traumatic past, but letting out things help you decide where you will go next in life. Overall, you can't fully love yourself until you're healed and can let go of that guilt and pain. And then the last thing I had is my vocab. And so the first one is an example for allegory, and it says, Sam thinks that the song Heroes is an allegory of their lives because it's talking about how love can overcome their difficulties in life. And then the second one is direct characterization. Incidentally, Sam has brown hair and very pretty green eyes, the kind of green that doesn't make a big deal about itself. The third is personification. An example is when Charlie says, and my mind played hopscotch, which means that he's unsure about his decision, not actually playing hopscotch. Diction, an example is, Aunt Helen told my father not to hit me in front of her ever again, and my father said this was his house and he wouldn't do what he wanted. Then an example of foreshadowing is in the book, it foreshadows Charlie's flashbacks to what his aunt did to him when he was little. An example of an idiom is on page 107 when Sam says go with the flow while recording Naked Lunch. An example of imagery is an example of when the big school dance with lots of people when it goes to Charlie all alone in the darkness. An example of theme is the theme could be many things, but one could be trauma, abuse, and mental health. An example of irony is an example of how Charlie would refer to his Aunt Helen as his favorite person in the world, but does not remember what she would do to him. And then an example of mood is Charlie's mood that can change quickly throughout the book from happy and then sad at another point. But yeah, this is my project. Yeah.